Hi guys, Queen here. I'm back with another little chit chat talky thingamabob. So today, like I said in my last one, or I don't know how I'm doing this to be honest, I did one where I talked about horror and thriller, and that was Japanese one. So this is also Japanese related, but just live action anime list from the movies that I have seen. There are a lot of live action movies, to be honest. There's some that I never even knew were actually related to manga. Um, but I put those in different years. So this one is basically just my list of manga live actions. There have been a lot. There have been a few good ones. There have been a few bad ones. I'm gonna be telling you the stories and everything. But so I thought we'd get started. There's a lot in this list, to be honest. I'm surprised by how much I wrote. But so the first one we have was a pretty hard decision, to be honest. There were two really bad ones, but actually no, there were three. But that one did not make my list. It is in the top, but not in my actual list. So the first one is Attack on Titans, 2015. Yeah, that was really not a good one. I'm sorry to say this. Like, I am a super really big fan of Haruma Miura. I know what happened to him. He passed away in July. Yes, it's very sad. I have my tribute up for him, like I said in my last one. But really was not that good. To be honest, I think I like the spin-off more. I'm just saying. But there's two parts to this. There's a part one and there's a part two. I think part two actually got like a better percentage on Rotten Tomatoes than part one. I don't doubt them, by the way. But Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 47%. You know, like I said, I don't doubt them for that. Like I said, there's also another movie, and it's called Attack on Titan: End of the World, and it came out in 2015, the same time around that. And there's also, like I said, there's a spin-off that focuses on one of the members called Henji Zio, or Zoe, played by Satomi Ishihara. And it's 3 episodes. So it's worth your time. It was okay, to be honest. Like, probably better than the movie. I like the spin-off better. But for those that aren't familiar, or you guys are Attack on Titans fans like I am, yeah, then you probably already know what the plot is. But for some of you guys that don't know what the plot is, I'm going to be telling you all these stuff. So the plot is based around 100 years ago. Titans suddenly started to appear on Earth. Soon, human civilization started to collapse due to Titans, and then the humans built a gigantic wall to defend themselves. And you know how that turned out. If you guys watched Attack on Titans, it did not turn out well. But within the giant walls, humans lived in peace. But 100 years later, you know what happened? It broke. I'm not gonna say why. I'm not gonna try and spoil anything. If you guys have not watched Attack on Titans, or if you have, then you know what I'm talking about. If you have not, I recommend you watch the anime. Just saying. Okay. Then we have Black Butler, 2014. Yeah, Black Butler was really not good, to be honest. I'm still shocked to this point. Rotten Tomatoes, why have you not watched this movie? Because I want to know what your thought is on that, by the way. But like, I was looking at this and I saw like what the director said it was, why he changed it, and I did not know that it was actually based around 2020. Is your prediction correct? I don't know, because I have not rewatched this movie in years. I don't think I really want to. But like I said, it's one of my least favorites. That's why it's at the end. It's kind of going down like what I thought was pretty good, but was that pretty bad? But if you guys want to watch bad ones, go ahead. But so this one is more based, as we know from the manga is more based around the 19th century, but this one is more based around 2020. So, but I looked, and the producer who said why they changed it to 2020 was because they could not cast Japanese actors. I don't know why he said that, to be honest. Whatever, I guess. Whatever you think is correct. I don't know what the director was thinking. I don't like how they changed things a little bit. Because, you know, CL ain't a girl. But, like I said, it's based on the year 2020. As we know, 2020 has not been the best year. So, Shiori Genpo, who runs a large corporation of Phantom. It says Futon, but it's Phantom. And Shiori is a descendant of the noble family, the Phantom Hive of England, and Shiori solves different cases which are ordered by the queen in order to take revenge. Shiori deals with Butler Sebastian, who they basically sign a contract, and their deal involves Butler Sebastian protecting CL until her revenge is fulfilled. As you notice, I said her. CL is not a her. But, they change things. Like, that's so weird when they do it. They just change a lot of things in live actions. I'm like, oh, thanks. Thanks for ruining our live action glory. And I do know that there is going to be one more live action coming out this year. Not of Black Butler, but of Promise to Neverland. I'm curious to see if that one's gonna be good or not. I've seen how it looks already by the pictures. It's gonna be interesting. But if I ever get around to it, I guess I could say I'll do a review for you guys because I'm so curious. I don't think it's gonna be really good. But so the next one we have is Assassination Classroom 2015. And as you know, Assassination Classroom is a manga. It is really well done. It has a lot of seasons. I don't know if it's still continuing or not. But also a sequel movie called Assassinations Classroom Graduation. It also came out in 2015. It's basically the second part of the movie. And for some of you guys that don't know on what Assassination Classroom is, here it is. A mysterious creature destroys 70% of the moon. The creature then warns that if he is not destroyed by March of next year, Earth will be next. The creature also demands that he becomes a homeroom teacher for the third grade E class. I'm like, really? If you're a monster, you want to become a teacher? A teacher out of everything? Okay. And the government is powerless to say no, so basically they say yes, go ahead. Like, it's like, really, government? Seriously? But the creature becomes the homeroom teacher of third grade E class, which consists of failed students, including one, Nagisa Shiota, who is basically played by Ryosuke Yamada, who is a Heisei Jump member. I love Heisei Jump. They're amazing. Best group, my favorite currently. So if for some of you guys that aren't curious or don't know, the teacher of this weird mysterious creature, his name is Koro Sensei, who is voiced by Nino. I'm gonna say Nino, because that's what they call him, because for some of the Arashi fans, he is one of the members of Arashi, and they call him Nino. So I'm just gonna say Nino. I was really shocked by that. I was like, really? He voiced Koro Sensei this whole entire time? And I never knew until I looked at this. I was like, oh wow. Well, meanwhile, the government requests that the status try to kill the teacher, Koro, even though he possesses tons of powers. Let's say tons of powers. And he's pretty hard to kill, by the way. But of course, then they try to really adapt to the point of that you have to try and kill this guy who is pretty much unbeatable in a certain amount of time. So, the next one we have is Full Metal Alchemist. I actually like this. I did see what Rotten Tomatoes put. They put 28%. And I'm like, I can't agree with that, to be honest. I thought it was pretty good. And for something that was going off of a manga, it did pretty well, to be honest. Of course, there's a few things that really did change, and I noticed that. But, like, you can't add everything into the movie. There has to be, like, multiple. If you want to add so many things into it, of course, they're not going to add everything. So they try and base it down to a certain point. But I thought it was pretty good, to be honest. I didn't really think it deserved 28% Rotten Tomatoes, but, whatever. It's Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it was a lot better. There's been some people who said it wasn't that good, but I liked it. It was pretty good. It was decent for live action. Just gonna say it was decent. It's better than one movie. But so basically, the plot is when they were little. Edward Elric is also played by the same character who played another character, Yamada Yosuke. Hi again. How are you? Like I said, he's a member of Heisei Jump. So, but basically, they try and bring her back by using alchemy, even though she passed away. I guess you can't exactly, when it comes to grief, you know how that turns out, and they try to reincarnate her, and you know how that turns out if you watch the manga series, you watch the actual anime that they did, you know how that turned out. But basically, if you taboo with something, something bad's gonna happen back. And so Edward loses part of his body, and Alphonse, who is basically Al, his little brother, or big brother, little brother, yeah, little brother. I'm like confused because whenever they mention it, Edward is a little bit smaller than him. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I have to remind myself. But there's his younger brother that actually lost his body. So he tried to bring it back by using his blood. Say, bring back my brother. He put into this armor, and so his soul basically rests in the armor right now. Let's see. So then they set out on a journey to find the Philosopher's Stone, which has the power to get back what they lost. And like when it comes to what they already did, what they are trying to get back. So next we have As the Gods Will, which is a 2014 movie. It's also another remake of an anime, and really Rotten Tomatoes 57%. Well, I could have said like probably like a 70% or 75%. This movie really was not that bad. I thought it was okay. I've watched it a few times, so if I say I watched it a few times, then I think it's pretty good. It's decent. Um, but for those that aren't familiar with what As the God's Will is, here it is. So a plot takes is that it's Shun Takahata, who is played by Shota Fukishi, is an ordinary high school student leading a boring life. You know how that is. A lot of us have boring high school lives. I don't doubt him. We're all like that at some point. And then one day, something all of a sudden happens, and his classmates are forced, well, basically almost everything, I think every single high school or something in Japan is basically forced to play these games. And with no knowledge of what or how to play these games, basically, you have to try and figure out how to win this game. And I'm trying not to really spoil anything because there's a lot that goes into this. There's a few other games. I think there's like 5 games altogether. Daruma-san is the first one, and then there's this cat game, another game. Yeah, I think there's 5 games altogether, 5 or 6. It's probably 5 by what I'm thinking. Okay, so the third one we have is Kuroni Kenshin Origins. As you guys know, this is also, like mentioned, there is actually 4 of the movies to this. I'm still like, wow, there's that many movies. There's actually 3, I believe, or 2. Okay, so basically there is 3 if you're counting Origins, but there's 2 movies currently. There is going to be 2 more. I'm not sure if I think they pushed back the 2 movies this year because there was supposed to be the final in the beginning this year. I think they pushed back the date. I'm not sure if it's still going to be released in 2020 or not, but please do let me know if it is. But for those that aren't really familiar with what Rurouni Kenshin is, here you go. So former legendary assassin Kenshin Himura, who's played by Takeru Sato. He is also a person who has played Kamen Deno. He's great. I love him. I grew up watching him. He's a fantastic character. And now becomes a wandering samurai, offering aid and protect in needs. So during the time Kenshin Himura comes across aids of Kaudu Kamiya, and her father opened a kendo school, which is located in Tokyo, and Kaudu is now an instructor there. So then Kaudu invites Kenshin to stay at her dojo, and then their relationship develops further. And then there's also there, and then there's a lot of craziness that happens in this whole entire movie. So I'm not trying to spoil anything. Death Note. Oh my god, I love Death Note. It is a very well done live action. I was very shocked with how well done it was. The movies are so good. I have rewatched it so many times. There's a lot of movies and series for this. I was so shocked. I was like, wow, craziness. But I did see that Rotten Tomatoes didn't actually give this any percentage. I'm surprised. Rotten Tomatoes really should because it's worth it. But there is another movie, which is the second from this movie, called The Last Name, and there's also a spin-off for Elle, which is called Elle Changed the World. I actually have that movie, by the way. I don't really watch it as much, but it is a good one. I don't watch it as much, like I said. It's just a spin-off. I'm like, okay, cool. We get to see an Elle spin-off, I'm fine with that. And then there's also 2 other series. One series actually leads to another movie which came out in 2016, which is based on 10 years later after all this happened. And it's called Death Note Light Up the World, and it was really good. Masaki Suda, who also plays an assassination classroom, is also in it. Very well done. But then we also, like, for some of you guys that aren't familiar, we did a live action remake of it, and it was not good. Definitely not. And Rotten Tomatoes really like 38%. I would have given like a 10. It really was not good. I did see what other people thought, and they were like, no, it did not turn out good. They didn't, I don't think they really stayed with the whole entire plot of how the whole entire series is supposed to go, the whole entire franchise and the manga was supposed to go. It really did not turn out well. I'm just gonna say that. But for some of you guys that don't know, basically, Light finds this notebook, and you know how things go from there. But then, like, there's so much that goes on with this. But like, if you guys already have read the manga, or you guys have seen the series, or you've watched those movies, or certain ones, like I mentioned earlier, yeah, then you know, I've mentioned it before. But just saying, he finds a notebook. Ryoka is the one who has power to do crazy things. But if you guys don't know, the notebook actually can do things to people if you write down their name. Even when you can see it, the Reaper's Eye, I guess I think is the name of it. You can see when they'll die. And then they die of heart attacks, but you can also write down, I guess, certain things on how that person dies. But I guess heart attacks is the one main thing. The last one we have is Tokyo Ghoul. This has to be my first. I was really, really amazed by how good this whole entire movie came out. There's a second one called Tokyo Ghoul S. Also is good too. My mom can agree with me. But like 67% Rotten Tomatoes, I probably would have given like a maybe 90. It was really good. Like, it's like, of course, not gonna be the best, because like we have our live action. If it's coming to a live action, there's also the manga. The manga's like really good, but it's like, of course, it's not gonna live to everybody's expectations, which is why I did 90 or like an 85. There we go. But for those that aren't familiar with what Tokyo Ghoul is, basically a college student named Ken Kaneki, who's played by Masataka Kubota, is attacked by a ghoul, and we know who that ghoul is. Rize, played by Yu Aoi. And then after being attacked, he is fed on human flesh. Well, you know how ghouls are, they basically eat on human flesh. And then he later receives an organ transplant from the ghoul. As we know who that ghoul was, I ain't gonna be spoiling anything, is now part of him, which leads to him becoming part ghoul. I guess you could say I was agreeing with a lot of what Rotten Tomatoes put with their things. Like, of course, like, to my opinion, a lot of what Rotten Tomatoes put with their stuff is not what I think is really great. Like, some of their opinions on certain movies are like way more better with what I thought was pretty good. But I guess it depends on what they're going off by, if it's the actual movie or if it's by those who are putting reviews. So I guess it just depends, really. But people, do your research a little bit and see if it's actually worth the watch. I'd watch it, and then I'd look at reviews and see what people think first. And instead of just going off of one thing and then going off another, it'd be helpful to watch the movie, people. But like I said, those were some of my favorites of the live action. There was a few bad ones, I'm not gonna lie. But I hope this could be helpful to people. If you guys want to watch some of these live actions, then I give you my own opinion about it. But if you guys want to see me maybe review like one of these or in the future or something, leave down below if there's something that you want me to really talk about, and I will happily do it. But for now, I will leave you guys at that.